Hi, everyone. Welcome back to English Unlocked. I am Luna.
And I am Luca. Today we want to talk about something a little painful.
Painful? That sounds serious already, Luca.
Before we even start, can I ask, are you a little nervous about talking about this topic too?
A little, yes. Talking about freezing is making me a tiny bit nervous to talk.
That is funny, but also strangely perfect for today.
It really is. Even hosts can feel the pressure sometimes.
It is. I am talking about the moment your mind goes completely blank in a job interview.
Oh, I know that feeling. You prepared everything and then nothing comes out.
Exactly. The interviewer asks one simple question, and suddenly your English just disappears.
It happened to me once. I forgot the word for my own job title.
Wait, really? Your own job title?
Yes, I just stood there smiling, completely lost.
That is the part nobody talks about. The silence feels louder than any mistake.
And the strange thing is, my heart was racing, but my mouth could not move at all.
That gap between feeling so much and saying so little, that is exactly what we want to explore today.
So today we are talking about why we freeze in English interviews and what we can actually say in that moment.
Because freezing is not about your English level, it is about pressure, and pressure does strange things to a calm brain.
And we want you to leave this episode with something simple to hold on to, not a long list of rules.
Just a few honest words that can save you when your mind goes quiet.
Words you can actually use the next time your interview goes silent in your head.
We are going to share our own awkward freezing moments, the real reasons behind them, and a few small sentences that genuinely help.
Honest stories, real reasons, and small sentences you can actually use. That sounds like a good promise to me. If that question made you nod, you are definitely not alone here.
Stay with us, because we are going to break this freeze apart together slowly. Luna, tell me exactly what happens in your head right before you freeze.
It is strange. I hear the question and I understand it completely.
The problem is not understanding then.
No, the words are there somewhere, but I cannot reach them fast enough.
That gap between understanding and speaking, that must feel awful.
It does because the silence gets longer, and then I start worrying about the silence itself.
Oh, that is the trap. You stop thinking about the question and start thinking about how you look.
Exactly. My brain switches from answering the question to not wanting to look stupid.
And once that switch happens, even simple words feel impossible to find.
My hands get warm, my heart speeds up, and somehow that makes the English even harder to find.
So, your body reacts before your mind even decides to panic.
Right? The body panics first, and the English just gets caught somewhere behind it.
That is such a physical way to describe a language problem.
Is there one specific question that makes you freeze the most, even now?
Honestly, yes. Tell me about yourself. That question always confuses me.
That is interesting, because it sounds like the easiest question in the whole interview.
It sounds easy, but it is actually huge. Where do I even start?
I know that feeling. My brain just goes blank because there are too many possible answers.
Exactly, too many doors, and I cannot choose which one to open first.
Maybe the freeze is not about not knowing yourself then. It is about too many choices arriving at once.
That makes so much sense. The problem was never my story. The problem was too many directions.
I remember one interview where I just said, "Sorry, give me a moment," and my mind went completely empty after that.
What did you do next?
I just breathed for a second, and slowly, one word came back, then another.
The silence was not the end. Then It was just a pause before your English came back.
I like that. A pause, not a failure.
I think that difference matters a lot because a pause feels human while a failure feels final.
After that interview, I told myself something that actually helped a little.
What was it?
I told myself it is okay to think in front of someone. We do that in our own language too.
True, even in our first language, we sometimes pause before we answer a question.
We just notice it less because we are not afraid of our first language.
Maybe the fear is not really about grammar or vocabulary at all then.
No, I think the fear is about being watched while you think.
I had a similar moment once, actually. I was asked a very easy question, and I answered with the wrong tense completely.
Oh no, what happened after that?
The interviewer just smiled and asked the question again, slower, like she already understood.
That is kind, actually. Did it help you relax a little?
A little? Yes. I think she could see I knew the answer, even if my grammar got lost on the way there.
See, that is what we forget. Most interviewers are not waiting to catch our mistakes.
They are just trying to understand the real person behind the nervous English.
And maybe that nervous person is more honest than the perfectly polished version we try to perform.
Do you think this only happens to English learners, though?
Honestly, no. I have seen native speakers freeze in their own interviews too.
That is reassuring, actually. So this is not really an English problem at its core.
No, it is a human problem that English just makes more visible.
More visible because every small pause sounds bigger in a second language.
Exactly. The pause was probably always there. We just notice it more in English.
So the freeze is not proof that your English is bad.
It is proof that you are a person, under pressure, trying to think clearly.
So if someone has a question like, "Tell me about yourself," coming up, what can they actually do beforehand?
I think choosing just one small story in advance helps, instead of trying to cover everything.
One story, not your whole life.
Exactly. One simple story you can return to, even if your mind goes blank for a second.
That sounds much calmer than trying to prepare for every possible direction at once.
It is, because you are not memorizing a script. You are just keeping one safe place to start. Luca, why do you think we freeze so much more in interviews than in normal conversations?
I think it is because an interview feels like a test of our whole personality, not just our English.
That is heavy. One wrong sentence can feel like the interviewer is judging everything about you.
Exactly, and that pressure makes even confident people sound smaller than they really are.
I used to think I needed perfect grammar before I could sound professional.
Perfect grammar. That goal sounds exhausting before you even open your mouth.
I was building full sentences in my head before speaking and losing the question while I did it.
You were performing English instead of just using it then.
Performing, yes, that word fits perfectly.
When you say that, I understand the freeze completely differently now.
How do you mean?
It is not that your English failed you. The performance just became too heavy to carry.
That is exactly it. The moment I stopped performing, my answers became shorter, but much more natural.
Can we stay with that idea for a second? What does natural actually sound like in an interview?
It sounds like simple sentences, said with confidence, even with small mistakes inside them.
Confidence matters more than perfection in that moment, then.
I think so. A confident, simple sentence feels stronger than a nervous, complicated one.
That makes sense, because nervous English often gets interrupted by hesitation anyway.
Right, and hesitation is loud. The interviewer hears it, even if they do not say anything.
I think confidence and loudness get confused sometimes, though.
They are not the same thing at all. Confidence can be quiet and still feel completely steady.
So a calm, simple sentence can sound more confident than a fast, complicated one full of small mistakes.
Exactly, because the listener feels your steadiness more than your vocabulary.
Instead of hiding the hesitation, maybe we should just name it honestly.
That is actually a useful idea for learners, naming the hesitation out loud in simple words.
What would that sound like in real English, though?
You could say, "That is a good question. Let me think for a moment."
I like that. It sounds calm, not panicked.
It buys you time, and it does not sound weak at all.
It actually sounds like someone who thinks before they speak, which interviewers usually like.
Exactly. And it stops that internal voice that says, "You should already know this."
I had that exact voice in my head once, telling me I was not ready for the question.
What happened when you stopped listening to it?
I just answered slowly, and honestly, nobody seemed to notice the slowness at all.
Probably because they were listening to your meaning, not counting your pauses.
Can I admit something a little embarrassing?
Of course. Go ahead.
Before one interview, I memorized full paragraphs, word for word, in English.
Oh no. What happened when they asked something slightly different?
My whole memorized paragraph just collapsed because the real question did not match my script.
That is such a common trap. Memorizing feels safe, but it is actually very fragile.
Fragile is the right word. One small change in the question, and everything falls apart.
Maybe simple, flexible English is stronger than perfect, memorized English then.
I think so now. Simple does not mean weak. It just means it can bend without breaking.
Do you think the words even matter as much as we believe in that moment?
I think tone matters just as much, maybe even more than the exact words.
What do you mean by tone, exactly?
I mean, speaking slowly with a steady voice, even if the sentence itself is simple.
So, a calm tone can make even basic English sound confident.
Right, and a nervous tone can make even advanced English sound shaky.
That changes how I think about preparing for interviews completely.
Same here. Maybe we should practice staying calm, not just practice grammar.
Do you think this gets easier with more interviews, or does it stay the same?
I think it gets a little easier, but not because the fear disappears completely.
Then why does it get easier?
Because you collect small proof, little moments where you survived the silence and kept going.
I like that small proof instead of perfect confidence.
Exactly. Each interview becomes one more piece of proof that freezing does not end anything.
So, confidence is not something you wait for, it is something you slowly collect.
That is a lovely way to put it, Luna. Slowly collected. One nervous interview at a time. Luna, if a learner is listening right now and feels their mind going blank, what is one small phrase they could use immediately?
I would say, "Sorry, could you repeat the question, please?" It is simple, and it gives your brain a second chance.
That is such a practical phrase because repeating the question often makes the answer appear naturally.
Exactly. Your brain processes the words again, slower this time, and the pressure drops a little.
What about when you already understood the question, but the answer just will not come?
Then I would use, "I need a second to think about that."
Wow, I really like that one. It sounds calm and it sounds completely natural.
It does not sound like panic. It sounds like someone who takes the question seriously.
Instead of staying silent and hoping the words appear, you actually tell the room what is happening.
Right? And once you say it out loud, the silence stops feeling like a mistake.
I tried something similar once, actually, when I completely forgot a simple word in an interview.
What did you say?
I just said, I know the word, but it is not coming to me right now.
Haha, that sounds so honest though. Did it actually work?
It worked better than staying silent. The interviewer just smiled and waited.
That is the part learners forget. Most interviewers are human too. They understand nervous moments.
They remember their own first interviews, probably in their own language.
When we freeze, we are not failing at English. We are just having a very human moment in English.
There is one more phrase I like for when you need to slow down a whole answer, not just one word.
What is it?
Can I come back to that in a moment? I want to answer it properly.
Oh, that is a strong one. It sounds organized, not nervous at all.
It buys you real time, and it shows the interviewer you care about giving a good answer.
I think learners forget that asking for time can actually sound impressive, not weak.
Exactly, because it shows you are thinking carefully about your job, not just your English.
If someone tried that phrase today, just once, out loud, do you think it would help?
I think it would help more than people expect, because the phrase becomes familiar before the real moment arrives.
The goal is not to remove the fear completely. Then,
No, the goal is to have one small sentence ready, so the fear does not control the whole interview.
that is a hopeful way to think about it.
It is small phrases used often slowly start to feel like your own voice.
What about when you genuinely do not know the answer at all?
Then, I think honesty works better than guessing randomly in confused English.
What would you actually say in that moment?
I might say, I am not completely sure, but here is what I think.
Oh, that is clever. It admits the gap, but it still gives a real answer.
Exactly. It shows you are still thinking instead of just stopping completely.
That feels much more useful than staying silent and hoping nobody notices.
It really is, because silence says nothing, but that sentence says something honest.
Luca, before we get to the recap, can I share one more small thing that helped me?
Please, go ahead.
I started practicing answering questions out loud alone in my room before any real interview.
Did that feel strange at first?
A little, yes, but after a few days, my own voice stopped feeling so unfamiliar.
That is such a small action, but I imagine it changes a lot inside your head.
It does because the first time you hear yourself speak calmly is not in front of a stranger.
It is in your own room where nobody is judging anything at all.
Exactly, and that calm voice slowly becomes the one you bring into the real room.
What about after the interview is over? Do you think about the freeze afterward too?
Oh, definitely. I used to replay the silent moments for days afterward.
That sounds exhausting, replaying something that already finished.
It was, I would imagine, better answers long after they were actually needed.
Did anything help you stop that replay?
I started asking myself one question. Did I stay in the conversation, even nervously?
And if the answer was yes,
Then I let myself feel okay, because staying matters more than sounding perfect. Luca, if you could tell your nervous interview version of yourself one thing, what would it be?
I would say, your silence is not your enemy. It is just a small pause before you continue.
That is beautiful, actually. I think a lot of listeners needed to hear that today.
I hope so, because freezing in English does not mean your English is weak.
It just means you are a person thinking carefully under real pressure.
I think today's conversation reminded me that confidence is not about hiding the nervous parts.
It is about staying in the conversation even while feeling nervous somehow.
Exactly. The words can be simple, the voice can shake a little, and it still counts as real English.
I also want to remember that staying calm matters as much as finding the right words.
That is true. A steady voice can carry a simple sentence a long way.
It can, and maybe that steadiness is something we can practice, just like vocabulary.
I also think it helps to remember that one difficult interview does not define your whole English.
That is such an important point. One hard moment is just one moment, not the whole story.
Exactly. And the next interview gets to be its own moment with its own small chances to do better.
I like thinking about it that way, fresh moments instead of one final test.
That is a hopeful way to end this part of the conversation, honestly.
I think so too, hopeful and a little more prepared than before we started talking.
Before your next interview, try to remember one simple phrase and trust that small pause.
And maybe remember your own job title too, just in case.
Yes, please, remember your job title before they ask.
And if you freeze again, that is okay too. It happens to all of us, even now.
One last question for you to think about. What is one phrase you could try in your very next interview?
We would love to hear your answer in the comments below.
Thank you for spending this quiet, honest moment with us today.
Take care of yourself, and remember, your pause is not your failure.
Take care. Bye.